Let me bring up. So I'm gonna go over Brick Breaker and start that up. So we're gonna go to games, and we're actually gonna just go to blank. I am gonna use Blueprint. I am gonna make sure it's scalable. See work, and I'm gonna do Brick Breaker. And then I'm just gonna go to File, New Level, and it's gonna be basic. And we're gonna. So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna create a folder. So basically, and this is again. So why am I making a folder like this? Is because this is a typical standard practice that you keep your project, your game within its own folder. And this comes. It's a practice that comes back from like Unreal Engine. Like as I worked on Unreal Engine 2 and 3. Like Unreal. Like let's put this here. Unreal Tournament had a UT folder, which Unreal Tournament was stored, and UT was basically the like prefix for all the things in that class. Um, we've moved away from using the game prefix, your project prefix, um, in many different ways. But here we go. I'm going to start by putting in save current level as. Let's just call it Bricks Game. I think I have it Brick Breakers Game, but one of the things that we can do now for this project, this is going to be the level that we are going to be working in constantly. So one of the things that they've got is we go to our project settings, and then there is maps and modes, and then here is what's the default game mode. We'll come back. We'll replace that in one moment. But editor startup map. Well, not open world. Let's go to our Bricks game. So now when I load the project, and when I what's the default game map, this is going to be the map that's going to start things up. We'll come back later and we'll place the game mode base with our Brick Breaker game mode in a moment. So let's go back and actually, and this is a case of save all. So there are some materials that we need to create. So I'm going to go create a new folder. I'm just going to do materials. And I'm actually, before we go further, let's go actually create new blueprint class. And it'll be game mode base. So to be Bricks game mode. In fact, we can actually, now that we have created that, I can go back here and do Bricks game mode. Go to my Bricks game, go to my world settings, and make sure I have my Bricks game mode here as well. So, stuff that you've seen already. All right, I'm going to build. See, there's a couple of materials we need. There you go, material. And this is going to be mat. I'll just do M. Floor. Next one should be M. The ball. material M wall, and then we'll do one more material for M brick. Okay, so let's get the floor in place. I'm gonna hold down 3. This will bring up this node. And I'm gonna connect this into base color and specular. And I want 0.1s across the board. Okay, so I could have used a 0 here. So the zeros were here before. That was our basically, actually, it's 0.01. All right, so here's what's going on. Here we want a black material, but we don't want a perfect black material because lighting is a multiplication problem. And if you've got a 0 in your calculation, then all you're going to get is a 0. So that's why we're not using a perfect black. So here is our floor. Basically, we're setting this up to be 0.001 across the board. So, and I'm just going to apply the changes. And I can now close this. And I actually can go in and I can apply this to the floor. Why specular? Basically, that controls the lighting highlight. So for our purposes right now, we want basically we don't want that specular that like light effect on our floor. So we're gonna go into the ball, and you'll see that I'm gonna basically plug in this value into base color into specular to control that. In this case, I'm also putting it into emissive color. So now the ball's going to be yellow, so it's going to be 0.9, 0.9, and I'm going to do 0.01 down here, just so we have a value there. So this is going to be somewhat of a glowy yellow. You can do mathification, so you can basically like, hey, multiply this, and I'll plug that into the emissive color. And I could do multiply that by 2, and you see it's more glowy. You can have values above 1. So normally if we think of these values right here from a 0 to a 1 value, you can go above 1, and that means you're now getting into HDR range colors, so super saturated colors, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm actually going to do 1.5. That's a little bit better. So I'm going to apply the changes. So close this, and ultimately I'm going to start right in here, and I'm actually going to add a basic. I need a shape. A sphere, and I'm going to put that on not that object. There we go. And this is going to end up being, if we go to details, this is going to be the ball. So this is going to be basically, this will be essentially, actually no, this I built this like this Unity. We'll come back. There'll be a blueprint class for the ball. Let me just delete that. But we'll leave this here for right now to be as a reference. When we build it, we'll rebuild it in the blueprint class. But this is gonna stand in right now. Again, I'm gonna go to my. It's like, so I'm gonna put this at 0, 0, 0. I'm gonna put this up at 100, so that you have an idea where our center of the world is right now. So the next one I need is the wall. And this is going to be white. I'm going to be lazy. In the document, I did 0.95 across the board. I'm just basically going to use base color 1, and then emissive color. In this case, I'm going to use a specular of 0. So let's go back. And then finally, I'll just go over the brick. This will be our basic brick right now, and it's going to be blue. Base color and specular. Okay. All right, let's set up the arena now. See, do everything but the floor and directional light. I've actually put in the floor. I'm just going to keep this object as the floor for our purposes. The directional light. I'll give it a 115 negative 80. Don't need the I don't need the fog. I don't need the sky atmosphere. I don't need the skylight, the sky sphere, or even the volumetric clouds. Why is that? Basically, the camera is going to get set up looking straight down. So don't need any. Only thing I need is just the floor and directional light. And I'm just going to repurpose this folder. I'm going to call it. I'll just call it world, and I'll put the floor in here for right now. Just so I can collapse that and not worry about it. I won't need a player start. So we're not going to be spawning into the world. When we start the game, we're going to take control of an object. So we're not going to spawn a player controller. We're not going to spawn something into the world. So, and that's why I'm showing you the brick setup today, because we're essentially that's what we will be doing. I am going to add a camera actor to the world. This is something we haven't done before. So we could go to where are the cameras? There we go. Cinematic. Just there we go. Camera actor. This is what we want. And basically, we're gonna put this. We'll put this at 0, 0, 3000, and we're gonna rotate it, pointing it straight down. Field of view, I found previously 120. Aspect ratio 1 point. So this is HD TV 720p. But there is one thing that we do need to do is, where is it? So there's an auto player activation. Right now this is disabled. We're going to put this for player 1. So what this is going to do is when I press play, boom, here we go. What is the other object? Floor ball. What is this? That's weird. What is it trying to spawn? Let's go to our world settings and look at. Let's see. Let's go to the game mode. In the default pawn class should be none. In this case, because we're not going to spawn a pawn. I won't leave that. I think that's the only change we need to make here. Yep, that was what. So it was trying to spawn something in the world. And so we basically turned that off. Again, we can play with this a little bit. We go back, look at the camera actor. We could let's make the floor bigger. So let's go to 12 by 12 just to make this. Let's go take a look again. If we scale over here, you can see that it's a big hunkin' floor. So, I mean, we could make this. Actually, we can make this 1. It should be not -5. Should be -50. And that should put this at 0, effectively the top of the floor at 0, 0, 0. So let me put this at 0. There we go. Okay. So we've got the ball at 0, 0, 0, and it's clearly above the floor. So cool. We're going to build a wall with cube actors, so we're going to basically add shape. Cube. I'll put this as... So we're going to do, again, so this is going to be wall east. And gives the M wall, and you can see that it's a nice bright white. And then we're going to put this at 4,000. And then scale is going to be 50, 1, and 4. And that was a rotation. 51 and 4. Now we can actually raise this up a little bit. Be 200. Should be 2. No, it'll be 150 because the floor is. There we go. We're going to duplicate. This is going to be wall west. And this is going to be at -4,000. And I'll duplicate. This will be the north wall. So this would be at 2,000. So like if you were working Unity, this would be on the Z-axis. So again, forward is the X-axis. 0, 150, and then 180 and 4. And then the last one I can just do duplicate. Just do copy and paste. And so this will be -2,500. And that's going to give us our arena. So we press play. You can see right here. I am going to basically move. So all of these right here, I'm going to move this into the world. I'm going to move the camera actor into the world. Because after this, we're not going to touch them at all. I mean, we can look at the camera. Like right now, it's perspective mode. We can go orthographic. Now we'll use. So here is an orthographic view. So in this case, we're looking straight down, so we're not dealing with any perspective. So if you remember before the walls were verging out, that's because we were in a perspective view. Now we've built it without that perspective view at all. We can come in actually closer. You know, I'm just gonna go back to perspective view for right now. We'll leave with this right now. We'll come back and we'll play with that another time. So again, here is basically our wall basically set up right now. So let's go back. All right. So there are basically two things that we need to set up right away in terms of, let's go back to our content draw. Let's set up a new folder for input. And right now, this game right now only needs two actions. We need let's go to input. So we need to move. And the other input action, we'll just call this button. So those are the two actions right now we need for input right now. We do need to, again, create an input mapping context. And this will IMC, this will be our default. Two mappings. Again, this will be IA move, and then the next one will be button. All right, let's open these up. IA move is basically going to be a mouse. Hold on. We need to set up. Yeah, so this is going to be under the mouse XY 2D axis. And then we'll add the next one here. This will be gamepad. Thumbstick 2D axis. No, we could ask for the X or Y axis specifically. We're gonna use the full axis for our purposes right now. So that's what we need to set this up with. Under button, basically, there's going to be three mappings. The first one is to be the mouse, left mouse button. The space bar will be the keyboard. And then we'll go face button bottom. So this is going to be gamepad. So this is face buttons, basically, those who are using any, those are north, south, east, west, the generic. So this is the south button, effectively. So we'll use that. So we basically have set up basically everything we need for the mouse and the keyboard. I mean, we could go and put in keys. You can do that later on. That's not that big a deal. The one thing that we do need, so we're going to save the input mapping. We do need to go into move, and the value type needs to be axis 2D, vector 2D. Because this is going to get the joystick, and it's also going to get the mouse axis. So this is the only thing that we have to do. We're setting that up to be the 2D vector. Button, we don't need to go. This is, again, we can go action description. This is moves the bat. And again, we can go in and look at button. Again, we do want it to be digital. This is a player hits button. So here we go. So we've got our default mapping set up already. This is going to basically create. And again, this project is designed to like, hey, we're building everything from scratch. So like input, the game mode, and all that is being set up. All right. All right. So now we're going to create the bat in our game. And we're going to create a new blueprint class, and this is going to be type of pawn. This is going to be BP. All right. First thing in pawn, we're actually going to go to auto possess player, and it'll be player 0. And that is basically, again, auto possess AI placed in the world. It's if it was an AI. We don't need to do it. But basically, when we run the game, this object is going to be possessed by the player controller automatically. And we're going, basically, so all that connection that we need to do will be set up automatically for you. All right. So I'm going to use another, so we're going to use the default scene root as the origin of the object. And so the first thing I'm actually going to do is add another scene called we're going to call this bat root. Okay, so we are going to move the bat around, but ultimately this is going to be the root of the bat object. And the reason for why we have this is that basically we're going to scale an object to be the bat. We want to have that independent. We want to control the bat independent of any scaling. So that's why we have a root here for that. We're going to add a cube, and we'll add a collision. And as I've done it, I've added, so I had the bat root selected when I created the cube. When I had created the box collision, the cube was selected. So this is good. Basically, the cube is basically going to be the SM bat. Actually, let's call it bat model. And this is going to be collision. The one thing we need to do is go down here and set 50s across the board. I'm not sure why Epic hasn't changed that as a default. But now the collision matches the default shape of the cube. We're going to go in and use our... Did I not make a bat? I did make a bat. Hold on, let's go back. Oops, I forgot to make a material. This is going to get plugged into base color, and I'm going to plug this into specular. And I'm going to put this at 0.5 across the board. Yeah, there we go. So I want a gray. Apply, we can close, save everything, close this, and now put this, yeah, hooray, it's now gray. The shape of the bat basically is going to be 5, 2, and 3. Again, I'm looking from up here, so we won't be that much. We are going to add on the bat root, we are going to add an arrow. And we know that the location is going to be negative 250. Rotation, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. So we've got an arrow, basically an arrow here. Scale just to make it so bigger so we can see it. Effectively, this is basically where it's going to be the forward direction of the bat in game. And this will why this rotation whatnot is because basically this object is going to get rotated based on a spline that we're going to create. So this is going to be on the default scene root. We're going to add what's called a spline. So basically what we're going to do is we're basically going to define where the bat is going to move back, left, and right. Think of it as a spline as a line with and it can be a curved line. For our purposes, it's going to be just a straight line. So we need to go in. First thing is that need to select the first spline point. So we already have two splines. Right now they're at 0, 0, 0. So they're on top of each other. The first one is going to be negative 35,000. So we're moving on the y-axis. And this is why this is going to get rotated. This is, again, first line point. Add a spline point to the current destination. Previous line point. Again, the other one we want is last spline point. And this is going to be at 0, 35,000. Make sure, yeah, okay. So again, our spline path is like 7,000 from left to right. So that's going to be essentially where our bat is going to set up. We need a couple. Basically, we need two variables, and I'm going to go. What we can do is put a category of bat model. And I'm just going to drop these all in here. So I can collapse them, get them out of the way. All right. We do need two variables. The first one is going to be point on spline. This is going to be a float. I'm going to make this editable. We'll make it public for right now. And then we need sensitivity. This is going to be a float as well. I'll make that insensitive. For sensitivity, I'm going to make sure I'm going to go in and put a 50 in right now. It's because if I forget to do that, the bat won't move at all. So, all right, we are going to need two functions. So the first function is going to be setup input. Next one is going to be move bat. And the last one is going to center bat. We don't need any inputs or outputs for these functions, so that gives us what we've got right here. Let's go to the event graph right now. Get a little more move. On begin play, basically we're going to call setup input. And we'll come back to that in a moment. We're going to center bat. and then we'll call the move bat function as well. So where the bat is on that spline is going to be controlled by this point on spline function. On event tick, basically we're just going to just move the bat. And then we're going to go get our move action. And we're going to do this. I just need to do untriggered. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to take our sensitivity. Actually, I do need this collapse opened up. So this action value, we are going to actually split the struct pin because we're only going to look at the X value. So left, right movement. What's up?
Testing?
What was that?
You mean to have it running right now?
I don't, but unlike Unity, I'm not going to lose my work. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, unlike Unity, we won't lose our work when we're doing changes like this. You shouldn't be, because sometimes you make a change and something else was dependent on something else, and it will start like, I don't know what anything is anymore. Whatever. That's not a big deal for Unreal. More so with Unity. Unity basically just rolls back all changes. So in this case, I'm going to take the X value and I'm going to multiply that by the sensitivity. And I could do this now. I'm doing this here. I could have gone and done that. There's actually a setting in the action mapping. I'm just going to do this right here because it makes sense for our purpose right now. But basically, whatever value I come in from X, I'm going to multiply by 50, and then the point on spline. I'm going to get that, and I'm going to add whatever this delta value is. So this is the change effectively on the spline. So I'll add that to point on spline, and then point on spline will set. That gets plugged in here. Trigger gets plugged in there. So basically, anytime we have a move action, whether it is the joystick, the controller, or whether it is the mouse. Later on, we'll go back and we can add the keyboard. But basically, what's going to end up happening here is basically we're going to change this point on spline value, and then on every tick we're going to move the bat. The bat will be moved to where that is on that value on the spline. So let's go basically center bat. So we will reference the spline. Look at the spline, and we will get spline length. So this is basically the length of the spline from its last point all the way to the first point in terms of the distance. And in our case, basically, we're going to multiply that by 0.5, by 1/2, and then point on spline. We'll set that to that value to the point on the spline. So there we go. Here is the spline. So we can close this. Move bat. We're going to need the spline. We'll need the point on the spline. And basically the big node that we're going to use here is going to be get transform at distance along spline. And the distance is going to be right here. Coordinate space is going to be local. And here's the return value. Just drag these a little bit closer. And then basically the bat root, we're going to set, set relative transform. There it is. That's the one I wanted. Bring that down. We'll bring this up. So basically, we're going to find where that where it is on that spline, where the object is. So there's basically how the bat's going to move. Compile. We can close this. All right, setup input. We need to start with the controller. So target is pawn, self is going to be our controller. Remember what we are basically what's going on is that we are being auto-possessed. So player 0, which is the first player, is going to take us. Just note that the references of controller, so again, player controller inherits from controller, the AI controller. So this is because there's the difference between the AI controller versus the player controller. So literally the first thing that we have to do is cast to player controller. And then off of, we can get enhanced player input local player subsystem. Big lovely block. And the first thing we do is we ask, is valid. And what we can then do, we can, if it's valid, then we will add I had to turn off context sensitivity. In this case, we're going to do the mapping. This is the target. And the mapping concept is going to be our IMC default. There we go. All right, I'm just going to put up a reroute node here just to make this look nicer. So this is basically what's going to set up. So we get the controller, we have to cast the player controller, we get the enhanced input system, we make sure it's valid. And all of this is going to be pretty straightforward. And then again, as long as this is valid, we'll add the mapping context. So this is where we're the mapping. So now that we've added the mapping context, now all our actions are now in play. So let's compile. And let's go to, I'm going to move the bat out of input here. So the one thing that we do need to do is add that into the scene. Make sure that this is at 0. Put that at 0. Say negative. I'll do -2. Yeah, that would be a good place to put it right now. I should mark that. Just gonna. So now if we go press, now it's not moving right away because I have to click into the scene. And what's nice about that distance, let's go back. Where's the bat? So you can see right here, point on spline is going way past that value. So it's past 7,000 on this side. It's getting down to 0 on this side. But it goes negative, it stops. So while it's past 0, the function that we have is going to take that value and it's going to clamp it for us. So again, on this side, I've gone past 7,000. You know, I've gone too far. So it's going to clamp us for it. Is this something that we should take care of? I mean, that's something that is to be considered. I mean, one of the things we can go back is the bat. Where's the input? The input is the event graph. I mean, one of the things that we could do is, I mean, after this, we could do a clamp it here. I'm actually going to make another function just to make our lives a little bit easier. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to use a clamp. So basically, the point on spline, that's going to be the value. That's interesting. Let's try this again. Where's the float? There we go. So I want to use the float version of the clamp. Minimum value will be 0. The max value is going to be, again, we're going to grab the spline. Let's turn on context sensitivity. There we go. Get spline. There we go. And this will be the max value. I mean, we could have done this. Now we will clamp that, and then we can then point on spline. Well, not yet. What's it set? So I could have done that. I mean, I made a function, but now we can go back. So we can go look at the. We can do we'll do the clamp here. And all we have to do is just plug it in like right there. So now when we compile, we'll go back to the bricks game. We can press play. Let's go back to click on the bat. You can see that it won't go past 0 now. Again, this side it won't go past. So we won't have that delay of, you know, it won't go past that value now. Something very, very simple. And I'm gonna actually have to add that function to the bat setup now that I've done that. But here is basically our bat. Go back. I've given you a zip file for audio. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do audio right now. I'm going to make a new folder. All right, so I've now created. So I brought in two files. Let's save everything. Hear this. So this is our boing song, and this is going to be our pop sound. Um, what we want to do for these is what now these are the raw files. What we want to do is create an audio cue, and we can literally click on this and do create cue. So we don't have to go through the process. Here we go. This will be AC boing. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm basically going to do create cue, AC pop. All right. I'm actually going to go into, so if we open it up, basically here is the original output file, and this is the output. What I'm going to do in here is, now, the problem that we have is that one of the first things you might do is bring in what's called attenuation. Attenuation basically means it plays in the world. It has a world location. For our purposes, that's not going to be helpful because our camera is literally 3,000 units above. So we're not going to use attenuation in our game. But I do want to bring in a modulator. And basically what I want to do is basically every time, I'm going to basically select the output here. See that? So it has a pitch and volume modulation. And so it goes from 0.95 to 1.5 on both of these. So when I so you can hear right now there's difference. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. 0.9 and 1.1. I'll leave this at 1 and I'll do 1.25. So I only want it to go up, not down. And you can hear there's a difference in that in terms of the pitch. I'm going to go really extreme. And this is going to be... Wow, I can get... how far can I push this? So you can starting to hear it starting to get really interesting. So I'm going to bring this again to point do 8.5. What the heck? And 1.15. So basically, I just want to make, when I play this sound, I want some variations with that sound. So again, this is when the ball hits anything. It's going to play this sound. Now, the next one is basically going to do the pop sound. Let's we can save this and we can close this. Let's go into the pop one, and I'm just going to bring in the modulator. And I'll go 0.9, 1.1, and I'll... Oops. There we go. So we've got a little bit of variation, and this is going to, this right here gives legs to that one sound file. It's pretty straightforward. It's just giving us, so every time we ask for this sound effect, we're going to get a slightly different variation on it. And this is just cosmetic. It's fully cosmetic. So this doesn't affect core gameplay. I mean, don't get me wrong, song is part of your core gameplay, but the modulation which you play at is not going to make it big. It's not going to be a core gameplay. So we'll save this. We can close that. All right. So now that we've got those, let's go over the ball quickly. Do I have enough time? We don't have time to do the ball. All right, so I'm gonna stop. Yeah, I'm not gonna have time to do the ball, but so that will be either Thursday or next not Thursday. Either on Monday or next Wednesday. I'll continue doing the brick breaker setup again. What's going on? You're gonna have a final project. You could do brick bakers. You could do the collection mini game. You could do something completely different. Do asteroids. You could do the realm of possibilities out there for you. But keep it short, simple, to the point. Right. This is not. You're not building Fortnite battle mode with created with building. No, you're not building Expedition 33. We are in Texas, not France. I have to make that joke. But think back to the early arcades. We're looking like time period. We're looking like late 70s, early 80s in terms of the games we're looking at. Pac-Man, you could pull off. Maybe just doing the first level of Pac-Man, like the first level of Super Mario Brothers. Things again. I'm gonna save everything here. Let me just close everything. I don't need this is not open. All right, let's save all. All right. We go into games, we can look at like the first person. There are variants now. Arena shooter, survival horror. Maybe you build something off of that. It's a possibility. Under third person, they've got combat, platforming, and side scroller. Top down, they've got a strategy and twin stick shooter. Do I have anything vehicle? So they have a vehicle template where there's a time trial and off road. Leave the hand on virtual reality stuff for our purposes right now. That's not going to be it's not going to help us. There's no variants on that. So if you want to look at one of the variants on one of these, go right ahead and build something off of that. That's perfectly fine as well. This is what you want to do. Basically, it is what do you want to do for the rest of this class? You're going to build a small game. You will have a complete. I will tell you right now, your game will have a complete. You should have a complete game loop. So basically, when you start, you play, you end, you can restart. You should have a main menu. Whether the main menu is a separate file or it is, I think it's the only thing I haven't shown you. So basically, whether or not your main menu is a separate map. Actually, I did show you that. Whether your main menu is in your game map, or if it's a separate level map that is your main menu that you go back and forth between, that's up to you. I think if you wanted to do a high score list, we could talk about that. That would be that's another lecture all to itself. We could talk about. If you wanted to store information while the game, like during while the game is running, the application state. Let's go back. Let me just come back to project. Let me just jump back to Brick Breaker just quickly, because I'm gonna need to open this up for. If we go back to our game mode, there's our game mode. There is a game session class in games. No, it's not what I was looking for. Player state. There's, I know. I think that setup is under project settings. Is it project? Yeah, map is modes. Game mode. Look, they've got stuff here for multiplayer already. Here we go. Game instant class. So right now, let's go in. Let's just make a just for the sake of argument, we're going to make a new blueprint class. Look at all classes. I'll have to look it up. I'm looking for the application. Is it not an actor? Is actor AI? Is it off of actor for some reason? I'm not finding it. I'm looking for the application classes. I'll come back. We'll come back. That's more dealing with loading and unloading save data and whatnot. Like, so if we wanted a high score, that will be its own lecture to itself. So I'm not finding what I'm looking for at the moment. Any questions? Anything? Again, this is like, hey, like, I mean, we press play, click into the scene. I mean, like, right. I mean, like, here we go. I mean, here's our basic gameplay. I mean, when everything we've built, we've built right out of the only thing I've brought in was audio. It's the only thing that I can't create in the engine. But everything we're going to build, I mean, all the bricks. I mean, the bricks basically are going to, I mean, I can make the blueprint for it right now. I mean, it is basically going to be blueprint class. It's going to be an actor. BP brick parent. I'm going to call it brick parent because for our purposes, again, we'll just jump in. I mean, we'll just add a cube. So it's basically scale of 3, 6, 3 is the object. Material brick. And we're gonna add box collision, set this at 50, 50, 50. And then under collision, simulate hit events. Actually, the brick. Actually, we won't need this. We'll make the cube the. We'll leave it right now. This is the one. You know, simulate hit events. And we'll leave this here. And again, we'll leave again. Here's our brick. We'll save it. We'll come back. There'll be more work to do here later on, but we can now go in and be like, hey, here's. How do I get 2 in the scene? That's interesting. 200 to 300. Say 5. And we can put these up 100. Actually, let's actually go back to the brick parent. Let's go to viewport. We can actually move this up 150. So again, here's the default. So the brick will be at the default. So we'll fix it here. We can go back to our level and be like, hey, they're all just slightly above the floor, which is perfectly fine. Give us a nice little shadow on them. And then from here, we can like duplicate out like our bricks. Again, duplicate 1,000 and 1,500. Yeah, so I've got rows. Again, you're gonna have to go in and type in these values because it's gonna move. Because my grid right now is set, I think 10. That's not where it is. I'm not sure where it is at the moment. But right now my grid is set to 10 units. So that's why you're seeing basically move 10 units in the X and Y. So it's basically, Unreal does this to move the object out from where the other object is, effectively. So here we go. Let's go in. Let's grab my ball. We can move this out, and now we can look at this relative to that. Again, really, we want to say. Again, we'll probably want to move this up just a little bit, maybe like 100. So again, this is where we're eventually going to spawn the ball when we get to that point. We'll do 2s. There we go. So, any other questions? Yeah, I mean, this is I'll talk to you on Monday about basically that's when I'll start asking for concepts for this project. So